Is Kim Kardashian leaving the Kardashian show? Girl, someone check on Kris Jenner.
There's no easy way to say this except just to say it because we love you guys all so much, and it's almost like ripping off a Band-Aid.
So the new rumor is that Kim is booked and busy, and according to a source, too busy. Ay, Dios mío, señor. So it says here that she has reached the point where she has to be realistic about her bandwidth.
Stop what you're doing, because the Kardashian carousel might finally hit a pothole big enough to send the whole clan wobbling. Kris Jenner is reportedly stunned, flustered, and straight up panicked as whispers swirl that Kim Kardashian is planning to quit the family show. Yes, the show that built an empire, sold intimacy as a product, and turned private pain into public profit could be losing its crown jewel. And if this is true, it's not just a ratings hiccup, it's a cultural earthquake. Stay with me because this is messy, theatrical, and exactly the kind of celebrity meltdown that says more about how fame is manufactured than the Kardashian PR team will ever admit. Let's start with the basic beats. Multiple outlets are reporting that Kim is weighing stepping back from the family reality show, a move that has Kris Jenner reportedly scrambling. Whether you call her a manager, matriarch, or mogul, Kris built a machine that turns family friction into contracts and cultural capital. Reports suggest this isn't a garden variety break. It's a strategic pivot that threatens the content pipeline that keeps the Kardashian brand humming. Imagine being Kris for a second. Your business model is a literal family theater, a scripted mess, and all. If the lead actor walks off stage, the producers lose advertisers, streamers start to sweat, and the family narrative collapses into awkward silence. Sources say Kris is worried and losing it over Kim's possible exit, which reads less like genuine maternal heartbreak and more like a CEO watching a quarterly forecast implode. This moment sits on top of a pattern. The family has a proven history of exits, returns, and staged farewells that double as attention engines. Remember the on-again, off-again rhythms of past seasons? Remember when departures became cliffhangers and emotional monologues turned into media events? This isn't accidental. It's a repeatable formula. Disengage, tease the strain, monetize the reconciliation, rinse, repeat. It's also worth parsing the language being used around Kim's move. Headlines lean into quitting, but reporting is murkier. Sources say, considering stepping back and planning a career switch are the phrases doing the heavy lifting. That linguistic wiggle room is PR gold. You can frame a hiatus as a health-forward, family-first decision and still preserve the option to return when the contracts look juicier. So why might Kim actually want out? There are real human stakes here: motherhood, mental load, and a career that's been wildly full throttle for over a decade. And yet, there's also a clear strategic playbook, pivoting to more curated, high-margin projects like beauty, shapewear, legal advocacy, or Netflix deals that accrue capital without daily exposure. It looks like self-preservation and brand elevation at once. But don't let empathy smooth over the optics. There's a pattern of timing that smells like negotiation. Big exits are often used as leverage. If a top star hints at leaving, suddenly the balance of power shifts, and networks, sponsors, and even family allies start cutting deals. The possibility of Kim leaving has the exact same leverage dynamic. Panic buys time, panic pays. Let's talk about Kris again, because she is the fulcrum. Fans and critics love to oscillate between celebrating her machine building and vilifying her for commodifying family. The truth lives between those extremes. Kris is a ruthless brand strategist who also happens to be a mother. That duality is performative and transactional. Reported panic about Kim isn't just personal, it's corporate. The family show is a product, and Kris is now apparently watching inventory walk out the door. This story also exposes the limits of celebrity immunity. For years, the Kardashians have operated like a privately run narrative cartel. They control access, stage moments, and monetize outrage. But when a central figure steps away, the cartel's power is tested. You start to see whether the brand has depth beyond a handful of headline-generating personalities. And the cultural stakes are bigger than a TV deal. The Kardashians have normalized a certain economy of fame where trauma is serialized and vulnerability is monetized. If Kim exits, whether temporarily or permanently, it forces the audience to reckon with what they were actually paying attention to, the intimate or the manufactured. It forces a question about complicity. Did viewers tune in for authenticity or for expertly staged spectacle? Critically, the timing matters. Kim's pivot talk lands amid other public evolutions: legal advocacy work, new business arms, and a carefully managed low-privacy lifestyle that paradoxically demands higher privacy. Running from the camera while cashing in on curated public activism is a sophisticated play. The optics could be pitched as noble, but they also read as an upgraded revenue model with better boundaries. Let's not pretend this is just a family squabble. There's a money train attached. Reality shows aren't sentimental, they're syndicated commodities. Advertisers, streaming platforms, and merch shelves all have skin in the game. A single blockbuster personality leaving can depress a show's valuation almost overnight. Kris's reported alarm is therefore less melodramatic and more damage control for a sprawling commercial ecosystem. Which brings us to a crucial question. Can the Kardashian brand survive on spin-offs and product lines without its showy familial core? The family has diversified fashion lines, fragrances, apps, and NFTs of a bygone era, but the show has been a unifying narrative hub. Lose the hub, and the spokes might not hold the cultural weight they once did. Now, read the personalities. Kim is in a peculiar public groove. Curated activism, high-stakes legal work, and slow-burn cultural positioning that signals seriousness. Think courtroom cred and policy influence. Stepping back from reality TV could be a surgical rebrand from celebrity who sells us everything to serious public figure. If that happens, it's an upgrade in respectability. Kris, by contrast, is the opposite of surgical. Her instinct is breadth first. Milk every moment. Let the cameras run and convert feelings into deals. Those instincts clash with a move toward discretion. So Kris's panic makes narrative sense. She's watching her PR-friendly chaos be replaced by quieter, less monetizable dignity. Let's be honest, the family has weaponized emotion as a product for years. We consume fights, reconciliations, and sob stories that conveniently coincide with product launches. That pattern has allowed the Kardashians to harvest attention and turn tears into transactions. The idea that Kim might disengage from that engine irritates the entire machinery. Social media naturally is a pressure cooker. Platforms will turn any sign of fracture into a trending moment. Expect memes, think pieces, and feisty hot takes that question Kim's sincerity or mock Kris's desperation. The family will get both sympathy and ridicule, and the online chatter will shape the narrative the moment mainstream outlets stop breathing down the story. There's also a gendered dimension at play. Women who step back from spectacle are often framed as flaky or selfish, while men retreating from public life get to be focused or strategic. The Kardashian story will be filtered through this double standard. If Kim leaves to prioritize family or big-picture work, some will applaud. Others will weaponize the heroine-villain binary that clings to powerful women. Let's consider the ripple effects within the family itself. If Kim steps away, who fills the vacuum? Kourtney has her own aesthetic and audience. Khloe trades vulnerability for controversy, and Kendall sells cool without crying on camera. None of them replicates Kim's cultural magnetism. A family without Kim's gravitational pull risks turning into a collection of niche performers rather than a cultural event. Financially, this could lead to tense negotiations. Networks might demand continuity or threaten contract penalties. Sponsors could pull or renegotiate rates. The family could face a short-term revenue crunch that forces public reconciliations, or, alternatively, a quiet pivot into private deals. Either route is messy and high stakes. We should also scrutinize the PR cadence. Stories leak, disclaimers appear, and phrases like "considering stepping back" get floated to test public appetite. It's a classic scent test. See how audiences react, and then either double down or walk it back. It's mercenary, and it's effective. The alleged news of Kim considering a switch could be a probe, a strategic float. And then there's legacy. Kris has curated a narrative about family resilience and entrepreneurial legacy. Kim's leaving could be framed as betrayal in the boardroom version of the family saga, or as a milestone in an individual's growth narrative. Both readings are exploitable. The family will pick the version that best preserves cash flow and clout. What about the viewers? There's a fatigue factor. Reality TV's constant emotional churn can desensitize audiences. A major star leaving could spur a reappraisal. Will viewers miss the spectacle or finally drop the subscription? That's a test of loyalty. The family has survived scandals and scandals of silence before. Maybe this is another cycle, but audiences are savvier now. Many can sniff a negotiation and tune out. Also, let's place this in a wider media economy. Streaming platforms are ruthless. They've shown little patience for sagging ratings or expensive talent. If Kim pulls a high-profile exit and viewers follow, platforms might demand format changes or drop the show entirely. Kris might be panicking because the risk isn't just emotional, it's existential for the show's viability. Now, the human side briefly. Kim's decisions might genuinely be about well-being. Being front and center for a global audience is exhausting in ways most people can't imagine. She has children, businesses that require different skill sets, and a public that consumes every nuance. Choosing privacy isn't villainous, it's adaptive, but it's not mutually exclusive with strategic PR use. I keep returning to the dual truth. The family is both a set of real people and a brand-engineered enterprise. That tension creates fertile ground for manipulation. Exit rumors allow individuals to step into different careers while the brand engineers a narrative that either vilifies or sanctifies them. Smart players can have both a legitimate personal shift and a polished public story. Kris's reaction, as reported, is performative too. It's performative because panic plays well in headlines and because it pressures the presumed leaver to reconsider. The optics of Kris begging, which some reports have framed, push the drama into the court of public opinion, where leverage can be reclaimed. Let's not pretend the family hasn't used sacrifice and spectacle to sustain attention. Weddings, breakups, and emotional reckonings have been troves of engagement. If Kim walks away, the family could manufacture a sorrowful farewell special that becomes content revenue. Or they could quietly pivot to licensing and brand deals and keep the cameras away. Both paths clear revenue, both have different reputational payoffs. Predicting outcomes is fun because the family's history is a loop of exits and returns. My hot take? They won't let the show die easily. Expect frantic negotiation, temporary returns, or creative pivots, reunion specials that scream vulnerability while selling yet another product line. That's how the machine survives. It recycles scandal into clicks and contracts. But here's a contrarian swing. Maybe this is the crack that finally stretches. The Kardashian formula depends on supply. Dramatic intimacy, repeated. If the most famous face leaves, the audience may discover that the spectacle was the product, not the people. That would be an existential crisis for a family whose net worth rests on perpetual attention. Public reaction will be a study in contradictions. Some will cheer Kim's autonomy. Others will grumble about abandonment. The family will be accused of weaponizing feelings, and critics will sharpen their knives. Yet the same critics also tune in. The paradox is delicious. The more we criticize spectacle, the more we feed it. There is also the reputation calculus. Kim stepping back could rehabilitate her public image in certain circles. Diminished tabloid presence might lend her a kind of gravitas that sells different products, law, activism, and serious brand partnerships. Kris loses a reality star but potentially gains a rebranded elder stateswoman if the family spins it carefully. And what about accountability? For years, critics have called out how the Kardashians monetize pain and normalize invasive visibility. A high-profile withdrawal could spark smarter conversations about the ethics of reality entertainment. Maybe audiences start demanding better boundaries. Maybe not. Cultural change is glacial, and the machine is nimble. Let's talk about the choreography of the comeback. If Kim pauses, expect a very special episode, a charity pivot, or a glitzy return that coincides with a product launch. The family's playbook is predictable. Convert absence into anticipation and then cash in on the sentiment. It's cynical, yes, but it's also a finely tuned business model. Meanwhile, the rest of the clan watches. Some will step up to fill gaps, others will carve their own niches. But the magnetic center shifting could create infighting or, less dramatically, a redistribution of spotlight that either diversifies the brand or dilutes its potency. Both outcomes are plausible. Now, a note about fairness. Criticizing the Kardashian machine doesn't mean celebrating personal pain. We can be skeptical about the commodification of family while still acknowledging that individuals deserve autonomy. The nuance is critical and often lost amid the noise. The question to ask is where performance ends and personhood begins. The media will have a field day. Expect think pieces arguing that this is the beginning of the end or a bold reinvention. Both dramatic headlines will sell. The truth will be messier. Likely a negotiated exit that keeps doors open, some carefully curated statements, and a ratings dip followed by a sales uptick on a Kim-adjacent product. In the short term, investors and partners watch metrics. Sponsors will evaluate engagement. Networks will renegotiate. Streaming execs will make calls. It's all less romantic than celebrity gossip makes it. It is spreadsheets and projections and PR forecasts. Kris's panic might be nothing more than alarm bells on a balance sheet, but the spectacle lives on in the court of public opinion. Social feeds will spike with sarcasm, performative empathy, and brand analysis. TikTokers will remix old episodes, podcasters will parse every family text, late-night hosts will have a field day. The cultural conversation will ricochet between mockery and genuine curiosity. So what's the long-term prognosis? My skeptical read: the family will lean into damage control, make strategic concessions, and preserve the brand. They have survived worse optics and deeper schisms. Still, cracks can widen. If Kim's departure sticks and viewers drift, the family's cultural monopoly could finally be challenged. And here's a last spicy thought. If this turns into a negotiation tactic rather than a true exit, the family risks exposure. Repeated faux exits erode credibility. Fans can only be teased so many times before they stop believing the stakes. The Kardashian machine, for all its genius, depends on perceived authenticity. If that's burned, the machine weakens. So, what's the takeaway? This is more than a juicy headline. It's a case study in modern celebrity. How brands are built around intimacy, how power is exercised through public narratives, and how exhaustion and reinvention collide in front of millions. Kris may be panicking, headlines may be shrill, and social media will feast, but the deeper story is about what we, as an audience, are willing to buy for our attention. Let's zoom in on the cultural critique, because that's the real headline hiding beneath the family gossip. The Kardashian story is a mirror reflecting what modern fame has become, an industry that packages intimacy, sells vulnerability as content, and expects constant supply. When you normalize turning private life into a production schedule, you also normalize the idea that personal boundaries are negotiable and that pain can be monetized. That is not an accidental byproduct, it's a business strategy. So when a principal player contemplates stepping away, the reaction is less about family dynamics and more about fear of losing an extractable resource. We've watched the family curate confessions that dovetail with product drops, memorialize grief in episodes timed to maximize ratings, and parlay controversies into brand extensions. This pattern has consequences beyond the Kardashians. It teaches aspiring influencers that the way to capital is exposure, relentless availability, and the commodification of experience. If Kim's exit becomes permanent, it could be the first major cultural correction. a moment where audiences decide they don't want to be part of that bargain anymore. Or, cynically, viewers might double down, consuming even harder because scarcity drives demand. The outcome depends on whether the public recognizes the game or continues to be played by it. There is also an ethical knot here. Producers, agents, and family managers profit off curated suffering, and that exchange raises questions about consent, long-term harm, and how much of reality TV's emotional labor is exploitative. When a star flakes out or stages a dramatic turn, we rarely interrogate the production incentives that engineered the story in the first place. We should. The monetization mechanisms, from ad revenue to sponsored content and ancillary products, create perverse incentives to manufacture pain because pain sells. It drives engagement, fuels parasocial relationships, and justifies premium rates from advertisers. Watching Kris panic is watching an ecosystem react to a potential supply shock. Consider also the younger generation raised inside this ecosystem. They witness fame as a transactional treadmill where authenticity is a currency to be minted, spent, and retired. That's a bleak lesson. Imagine a cultural moment where leaving the treadmill is respected and not punished with headlines. That alone would be a seismic shift in celebrity norms. Finally, there's an accountability thread. Criticism of the Kardashians often morphs into moralizing about individuals. But the bigger target should be the structural economy that rewards spectacle over substance. If Kim really chooses discretion and a different kind of public life, it could open space to ask how media ecosystems should treat human stories ethically. Will they? Probably not overnight. But such exist plant seeds for debate. And for the show, expect one last theatrical arc, negotiated statements, farewell episodes, or a retooled production that tightens the focus to other family members while the brand uses Kim's absence as a marketing pivot. The machine is adaptive and won't go quietly. But the fact that we're even discussing a possible end to a central figure's tenure is a reminder that even empires built on spectacle have fragile seams. All right, that's the tea, raw, messy, and deliciously complicated. What do you think? Is Kris right to panic? Or is Kim simply evolving out of a system that monetizes everything she does? Drop your hot takes in the comments, hit that like button if you love a juicy media meltdown, subscribe for more no-holds-barred celebrity analysis, and ring that bell so you never miss when the next Kardashian plot twist breaks. See you in the comments.